here we have this situation now, as you pointed out, with the Biden administration terminating or conditioning they changed the conditions or the situation from preventing the weapons from being delivered to Israel, mostly aerial bombs and tank shells and the like, and precision guided kits for aerial bombs, to now they're conditioning that they shouldn't be used in Gaza against all military advice to the contrary. Even American strategists and military personnel are saying that the bombs have to be used because of the nature of the warfare right now. So what has this done, though? There are two things that have come about because of this. One, I consider it a good thing, a silver lining to a dark cloud, if you will, that most people now in Israel realize that we absolutely have to become more independent in terms of our military equipment production. Second of all, the other development is in the United States, where there's according to the polls, a rejection of what the Biden administration has done. And if it alerts the American Jewish community in particular that their days are numbered in the United States and that they should start seriously considering making Aliyah, on the one hand, and on the other hand, it has really given a tailwind, if you will, of support for the Republicans. I think it's pretty clear now, in light of this latest development by withholding military assistance, that if another Democratic administration comes in, either under Sleepy Joe or somebody else, that the position of the American Jewish community, the position of Israel in general, and the position of the American Jewish community in specific, is going to be endangered seriously. I've tried with other people to encourage American Jews to realize this fact and to take appropriate steps to make Aliyah, while they can do so in an orderly fashion. And who is pushing back against this? The American Jewish establishment. Yet you can kind of figure out the reasons for this. It's fairly obvious. But as far as the Democrats are concerned, the major reason I think why they're running scared right now, is because this move by the Biden administration to restrict arms to Israel is having a ripple effect amongst America's allies overseas. They're looking at this and realizing that, for many years, the United States and Israel were perceived as a special relationship, that the United States was, proud to admit that they would do whatever was necessary to protect Israel's strategic interests. Well, now, if this can happen to Israel, the Emiratis, the Saudis, all the other allies, by the way, that the United States has both in Asia and in Europe, are now saying to themselves, wow, if this can happen to Israel, this can certainly happen to us under any administration, whether it be Democratic or Republican. So the ripple effects are not only positive in terms of Israel, but they're quite negative, both domestically for the Democratic administration in the United States and internationally. Now, as far as Israel is concerned, I've indicated in several publications that there are technologies that we could use right now to substitute for aerial bombs in Gaza, in Rafah, actually, in the campaign against Rafah, that would allow us to call Biden's bluff and simply say, okay, fine, we're not going to use these new weapons coming in. Well, we're going to stockpile them, presumably for the North. And we could go right ahead with this alternative technology and demolish Hamas's position in Gaza street by street. So I think this has probably been the most, it's what you call in soccer, and I'm sure you'll remember this, an own goal. It's called an own goal that the Biden administration has just instituted against itself. So I wasn't surprised by it at all. I told people to wait to see what happened with the review in the State Department that was being conducted just before the decision was announced by President Biden to restrict these arms in the State Department, to determine whether or not we were conforming to humanitarian rules of war. What I said before was it was likely that the Biden administration was going to make a move like this based on a determination by the State Department that we had in fact violated the Leahy rules for the use of American arms in our war against Hamas. So when Biden came out with his statement saying that they were going to ban these weapons from being used by Israel, initially, before they later conditioned them, I said, okay, we better prepare for a pretty bad statement coming out from the State Department that we were in fact violating the Leahy rules on the humanitarian use of weapons. Wrap your mind around that. But because of the pushback,
can you explain specifically what these Leahy provisions?
The Leahy rules are a vague set of woke and progressive opinions on how countries that receive American arms can use them. And when the Leahy laws were first enacted, this is Senator Leahy of Vermont, I believe, a no friend of Israel at all. And they were developed with Israel in mind, by the way. The laws themselves were kind of put on the shelf. And it's my feeling that they've been pulled off the shelf by the Biden administration, now dusted off, if you will, for their specific application with Israel. So they, again, as I said, what these laws really involve is a set of woke or progressive opinions, quasi-legal opinions that somehow define humanitarian rules of war. And if you read them, they're insane. They can be anything you want. And so they, as I said, they've been dusted off, pulled off the shelf, dusted off, and used against us now.
And they do not apply to anybody else.
I haven't seen them really used for anybody else.
Nor the United States, of course.
No, nor the United States at all.
Remember,
at all.
Think Mosul, think Afghanistan, think.
Think Vietnam, think Korea, think anything you want. I mean, exactly. It's insane. Okay, so I was waiting for the application, for the State Department to make a ruling that we were in violation, and then they would recommend a total embargo of U.S. arms on Israel. Well, lo and behold, because of the pushback, the pushback against what Biden did, what the administration said was, we believe, we have a feeling that Israel has in fact violated the Leahy laws or the international, their humanitarian laws of war, but we have no proof of that. Now, I want you to think about that for just a second. They make a statement, a positive statement. We believe that Israel has violated humanitarian rules of war as set out by the Leahy doctrine, if you will. But we have no proof to actually show that or prove that. We have no documentary evidence to prove that. So we're in suspension right now, okay? We're kind of in a netherworld. And they can go back right now and look at those laws and realize that they will be a sword of Damocles, if you will, over our heads going. Administration of Donald Trump could come in. Donald Trump could come in and somehow avoid using them. As long as they're on the books, a Democratic-controlled Congress can pull them off the shelves and use them against us, or for that matter, a State Department regime that a Republican president hasn't fully gotten rid of could again make a statement that American arms should be cut off from Israel because we're in violation of the Leahy laws. So all of this goes to say that we need desperately to embark upon what I call a project independence that will, if possible, wean ourselves completely off any dependence on the United States or any other country for that matter. It's time for us, after 7 decades, to become truly independent. And as long as we are connected to the United States militarily in any way, shape, or form, we will not truly be independent.